All right, long and sloppy this week like the wrestling. Hello again, friends. And you are our friends. We may have missed a few notes, but we're here to recap all of them today. Welcome to another edition of Jim Cornette's Drive Thru, a special edition. Jim's deep dive into SummerSlam 2025. 2 nights of spectacular action. The best weather we've had all summer here in New Jersey. I'm rambling.
Yes.
I'm your host, the great Brian Last, and here he is, the reviewer himself, the leader of the cult of Cornette, Mr. Jim Cornette.
The best weather you've had in a while, and you spin it like that. Suckers. And as far as a deep dive, there's no water in the pool. I could hoist myself. You know, I was ready to say, going into this thing, that at least the WWE, see how I rewound that. At least the WWE had the kindness and the compassion to do their 6.5 to 7 hour show in 2 parts instead of AEW, where they just shat it all out like projectile diarrhea. But I'm not sure which, because then you get a break in the middle where you think you're almost free, and then you have to go back to it, and you see more of the same thing that always happens.
AEW's pay-per-views, I should say, are like going out with your best friends and having the greatest, wildest night of your life. And you're going to sleep late the next day.
Who are you friends with?
And you're going to sleep late the next day, and you're going to have a really bad hangover. But then the day after that, you'll be back to normal. WWE's are, you go out for a few drinks, but somehow you feel really woozy, and you get a shitty night's sleep, and then you wake up and you do it all again, knowing there's more right around the corner. It's a different feeling.
So it's what you're saying is AEW is binge drinking, whereas WWE is more like a habitual problem, a systemic pattern of abuse.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between abuse and addiction. And I think AEW is like wrestling addiction for their fans, and then WWE is like wrestling abuse for its fans. I think that's a very good distinction.
Oh, it's abusing me. I'll tell you what, it's abusing me, ladies and gentlemen. SummerSlam weekend is come and gone, and I feel used and abused. I will say, before we start talking about this epic that we witnessed from the swamps of New Jersey, as I believe Michael Cole said, I had a wonderful time Saturday. I had a wonderful day Saturday, because Saturday morning, it was like 62, 63 degrees outside, about 7 o'clock at the castle. It had not been below 70 degrees the entire month of July at any time of the day or night here in this town. And we dropped the dew point, got the humidity out of here, and I had one of the Monroe brothers, Alf Monroe. Ralph couldn't come. She was on vacation in Pigeon Forge. But Alf came over, and I got outside for the first time in 3 months, since it's been so miserable and oppressive and hot and swampy. And I did yard work. And we weeded the flower beds around the house, and I got my limb lopper out, and he was up on the daggum roof cleaning the leaf gunk off of the fucking area of the roof there that it comes to, I don't know what you call that angle. And just work. And I had my sweatshirt on and my sweatpants, because even though it was not that chilly, I'm crawling underneath the evergreen bush. I don't want to get the poison ivy, and you got ticks and various assorted fucking giant spiders and all types of things out in the wilderness. And I sweated off some poundage, Brian. And by about 4 o'clock came, and I felt like that I'd just been the pedestrian victim of a hit and run accident on Broadway. Because I don't use those muscles. I was down on my hands and knees and gripping and pulling weeds and clawing and wheelbarrowing and such. And I don't use I use my brain muscles more often. So by the time I finished with all that and took a shower and I weighed myself, guess how much weight I lost Saturday in an 8-hour period?
I mean, you're already skin and bones. 8-hour period of Saturday, 6 pounds.
You are a little bit off. 5 pounds. I lost 5 pounds. And then I'll have you know that because then I couldn't turn my head, I couldn't lift my arm up, I couldn't bend over, everything hurt, I was sore. Stacy got me a big bag of Dairy Queen, and I had some bacon cheeseburgers and some onion rings and some French fries, and I got one of those big old insulated mugs that they have with the metal mug thing where you put one cube of ice in it and put the top on it, set it out in the Sahara Desert. A week later, you come back, your cube still. I got one of those and filled it up with ice and kept pouring Sprite Zeros in there. And guess how much weight I gained back by the next morning?
6 pounds.
5 pounds. The same thing I lost. I gained it exactly back. Of course, one time I weighed, I was wearing socks. That might throw the...
That was 5 pounds of Sprite Zero?
Well, a couple of double bacon cheeseburgers and onion rings and the French fries probably didn't hurt any. But I felt I'd earned it after going out and doing honest toil in the soil.
Considering how healthy for Jim Cornette you've been, do you ever have one of these celebratory, I don't know if that's even the right word, any of these burgers nowadays, and you take a bite and you feel like gross, like, you know, I'm doing such good work.
No, oh God.
I don't want to eat this and mess up the progress.
No, but besides that, I eat a burger of some kind, either self-concocted or something that's been prepared out, regularly still these. I'm just not as overdoing it and as constantly, and I don't have to lose a significant amount of weight now.
What are your self-concocted burgers, like squirrel and chipmunk?
I'm talking to the same animal. I'm self-preparing it. I'm cooking it at home. I'm making it to my specifications. Or I can just order out, because every burger is different. You can't duplicate. Burgers are like snowflakes, Brian. You can't duplicate everybody's burger is different. Every restaurant, every individual. You can start with the same ingredients, but it's the way it's prepared. You're going to come completely different every time. That's why only God can make a tree, but he can't make everybody's burger for him. See, you've heard that old saying.
I've never heard that expression ever.
Well, that's what they used to say when I was a kid. I don't know.
Who are these people?
All of the people.
All of the people used to say this.
All of the people.
Wow, we were a united culture around this saying. Yes, I had no idea.
Most people agreed about things back in the old days. It's only when Twitter came along that we realized everybody's a goddamn idiot.
Your hamburger sucks. Fuck you. I hate anyone who eats hamburgers like you. Die, hamburger boy.
All righty then. But yeah, so I had a wonderful day Saturday. I was getting ready because I knew my next 48 hours, and it hadn't even been 48 hours yet. We're still early on the Monday. I knew that was going to be just hell on earth from the overabundance and overindulgence and oversaturation of the thing that happens over and over again.
All right. That was happy talk. And Jim, we have a lot of modern wrestling to get to, and today this will be a special drive-through. That'll be pretty much all we get to, because there's a lot to talk about and things coming out of this. Well,
don't say that. It's going to take us so long to delve into this. Basically, say it's a big pay-per-view spectacular show, and then we're going to be coming back with more before you know it in the next few days. That's the way you phrase. You don't say it's just all we're going to do today.
Well, there's going to be a lot of action.
We're just sitting here with our dicks in our hands. We prepared for this shit. I got notes.
All right. Well, good. My dick is in my pants, ladies and gentlemen, for the record. Before we get to the contemporary
Are your
action,
hands in your pants? Your hands could be in your pants.
my
They could both
hands
be there
are
together.
right here on the desk. Or is that my dick? You'll never know.
Put your flop. Put your hands on the radio, ladies and gentlemen. And
all right, well, Jim, before we get to the contemporary action, as I was saying, a couple quick mentions here because some books landed on my desk. I just want to give everyone a mention. Sean Delaney has a new book, The History of Professional Wrestling in Evansville, Indiana, 1970 to 1971.
It's been out for a few weeks. You just getting it now?
It just arrived. Sorry for the delay, it says. But there it is. And also, he sent another book. I don't know when this came out. Worked. The true story of a professional wrestler caught between the FBI and the Tennessee judge they wanted to take down.
Well, that sounds like it's even worse than getting caught between the moon and New York City.
Well, there it is. Check them out. And thank you, Sean, for sending it. I do appreciate it.
And we would talk more about the Evansville book, but we already did. Just Brian didn't have it at that point.
And I want to mention this because
the old address gimmick.
This is right down my alley, and I'm so in love with these. Scott Teal just put out 3 books: Professional Wrestling in Comic Strips, Illustrations, Cartoons, and Clip Art, volumes 1 through 3. I know, it just rolls right off the tongue. But these are incredible. If you are a nerd, a mark for old newspapers, old newspaper comics, wrestling's coverage in old newspapers, wrestling art, these are extraordinary. They go back to the turn of the century. And I don't know if you've received
the turn of the century before last, as a matter of fact.
Well, that's right. 2 centuries ago, that turn.
Yes.
It was a big turn, ladies and gentlemen. It was the biggest turn of the year. Turn of the century.
Then it comes up to more modern times. It's chronological is what it is. It goes in order. But I agree, it is fascinating. They are fascinating. And in more explanatory terms, Scott has taken not only just like stories from the newspaper on wrestling or illustrations, but also comic strips that had an ongoing pro wrestling storyline from various eras, and or posters that have been drawn that were the old-fashioned, try to figure out how to describe these now, the old-fashioned sports collages that the artist used to do of the famous baseball player or the football player, whatever pertains to wrestling. So it's for illustrations and comic fans, art fans, and wrestling fans. It hits it's a very, as you said, nerdy conglomerate there.
I love it. It's fantastic. I have it here in the office. 3-book set by Scott Teal, crowbarpress.com. Check it out if you're someone who enjoys the wrestling history lessons like, Ed Strangler Lewis and Jim Londos and Frank Gotch, the Terrible Turk. That time and so much more. Check out these books. I'm such a big mark for these, I have to say. Well.
Yeah.
Jim, before we get to
That's a deep subject, as Mama Cornette used to say.
I'm trying to take as long as I can to get there, but Cornette's Collectibles at JimCornette.com. What's going on?
Well, why would you need to dilly-dally about when talking about something so crucial to the American economy? Folks, JimCornette.com, Cornette's Collectibles, the action figures, the Midnight Express action figures, the books, the DVDs, the special limited edition items like the Smoky Mountain Wrestling event tickets, and so much more. All now available at JimCornette.com. Hotchkiss Featherbottom is waiting with open arms to service each and every one of you as only he can. Everything on Hotchkiss is waiting open for you. So give it to him, baby. JimCornette.com.
All right, Jim, well, let's get now to this big weekend of action from WWE here in the tri-state area. They were in New Jersey for SummerSlam, but there's one thing that we have to talk about on Friday on SmackDown in Brooklyn. This was, in some ways, astounding. This was an about face. This was, talk about turn of the century.
Bobby Ewing in the shower? Bobby Ewing in the shower, perhaps?
Bobby Ewing in the shower, I think, is a good example. Unreal is on, where they show everything that set up the heel turn for John Cena, but on SmackDown, we got to see them take down the heel turn for John Cena. What are your thoughts on all this?
This is the first time that I've ever seen, I think anywhere, them just come out and basically without saying the words say, yeah, we fucked this whole thing up so far. And they did say the word crazy idea. We listened to this dipshit and his pimply faced fucking accomplice that slunk in and fucked up all of our shit. And now we're going to drop it. Folks, if you didn't know, John Cena and Cody Rhodes had their last confrontation or discussion, as it turned out, before SummerSlam, before the big title match, the big street fight, the big grudge settler. They fucking Cena kicked him in the balls and stole his belt and fucking said awful, horrible thing. Remember, Brian, when I said that one promo he did about the fans was so goddamn brutal and personal? And I said, how do you ever apologize for that? What act could he ever commit that would possibly atone for saying that about those people? He didn't even worry about it. He just, you know what? I'm going to take my head out of my ass now. I don't know what I was thinking. And that was it.
Cody, you've been saying that you want the real John Cena. You've been saying that I'm bad or whatever. I thought about it. You're right. Okay, this is over. What was that? It was so weird.
Now let's have a street fight. No, but
yeah, really. I forgot about the stipulation. That's right.
Here's the oh god damn it. Oh god, they finally broke me. They're coming to take me away. Ha ha hee hee. So Cena comes out, he does the entrance, and they pop for him, but they still sing John Cena sucks, and in the mixed chants and everything. And he's the stone face where he just milks his big introduction and gets the cheers and the boos, and then they chant again. And he does say a word, and then they play Cody's music. And here's another long-ass entrance where they sing his song. And whoa, and Cody Rhodes. And we're 10 minutes into the show before the first word that one of the talents says, and it's John Cena. He said, I got to tell you something, Cody. I told you I was too tired for SummerSlam. I was exhausted. I didn't want to have a street fight, but you assaulted me and you forged my signature on a contract for the most dangerous match in the WWE. Thank you. What? This was the boot in the ass I needed. What the fuck? He has impressionable people. If he had said to them personally what he said to people all over the world on TV the last 6 months, that, well, my God, they'd have been hospitalized with mental anguish. But I made a reputation on hustle, loyalty, and respect. And now I realize I just flushed it down the toilet to follow somebody's crazy idea to make shocking television. And then they all left. They went back to wherever they came from. And I'm here basically in Rock and his fucking retinue, the Rocky retinue. They fucking bail because the rapper and all these fucking people, because they're whatever the fuck. And I'm left alone pretending I'm something I'm not. Because as we will recall, apparently The Rock was so adamant about Cody turning, and Cody was equally adamant about it. That would be insane. And then they went to John, and John's he's like, okay, I'll try anything. He's that kind of guy, right? What the fuck, I guess, difference it make. But he thought, I'm sure they were going to follow up on it with some shit they told him that apparently has never come to pass.
Yeah. And then The Rock never came back. And instead we get to see trailers for his movies on the pay-per-view events.
Yeah.
And Travis Scott, the word is, even though it seemed like it did not help them, it didn't get him any buzz, there weren't Travis Scott fans diving into wrestling. The word was, he's a really big fan. We want to embrace this. You won't believe what a big fan he is. And unlike Jelly Roll, who apparently moved into the developmental center to train, Travis Scott couldn't be found again.
And now Drew's calling him some fucking asshole.
All the wrestlers. I saw Big E, or maybe it wasn't Big E. It was someone I just saw on WWE TV. Same thing, running him down for taking 5 minutes to get to the ring. So they're all just going to town on him now.
But so basically then Cody is standing there and Cena launches into and Cena can talk, for God's sake, and has the expressive face and fucking knows what to do. And you try to tell me, Cody, but I didn't listen, and you forced me into a fight. And then he did the fired up babyface promo with his voice cracking. By the time he was finished, the fans cheered it and started chanting, Cena, Cena. And he says, the fans are the real winners on Sunday. You want some? Come get some. As a matter of fact, then he said the only platinum rapper showing up is me. And he actually dropped the microphone, literally. And the people went absolutely crazy. And Cody's standing there. He looked like the cop on the first day on the job that I described in the story about Vince peeling off and throwing gravel at his face, only it was shit. He was like, what is he going to say? So he didn't say anything. He asked for 2 beers. Apparently now we know that the fucking ringside crew is just down in the Real Americas in the commercial break, right? Because they had 2 beers standing by at ringside. And he said, welcome back, John Cena. And they shook hands and drank 2 cans of Hulk Hogan's beer. And Cody left and the fans were cheering John Cena. And I was, what the fuck is happening? So now they just came out and said, we fucked this whole thing up. We're sorry. We're just gonna.
We decided the day before the pay-per-view that we're just gonna change things up right now. The whole thing was bizarre. Cody Rhodes managed to be in an angle with John Cena here on SmackDown, which was the main thing on SmackDown. In the main event of SummerSlam, winning the title, and on both occasions he's an afterthought. He's not the interesting party in any of this.
Well, and he's being booed when he gets his belt back that the guy stole from him after he fucking kicked him in the balls and all that shit. And then they figure out a way to make he gets his belt back. And oh, fuck. I mean, they cheered him still, but they were booing him in the match. And again, do you think on Unreal next year, whatever, are they going to tell us what this was supposed to be before the last couple of weeks? Hey, were they just say, what the fuck?
Well, again, we do need to still watch the rest of the first run of that show. They just renewed it.
But yeah, but I have a feeling, and if that show has been finished and edited for the past week, even that they might not have had the same outcome in mind. What?
I'm serious.
But
though. Cody's an afterthought. Your whole thought coming out of that was this was the turn. It wasn't even about Cody at that point. It was just Cena just said, "Okay, I'm a babyface again." The day before SummerSlam, 2 days before their match, and then he wins the title. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody gives a shit that he won the title. And who's he going to work with? Is there? I mean, they could just create something, tonight on Raw or whenever. But is there anything that they've set up for him to do? Anyone for him to work with other than, like, if Roman decided he wanted a title, but then you have babyface versus babyface again. So it wouldn't work.
And also let's clarify one thing, because I saw a lot of people after the SmackDown promo, but before the match at SummerSlam, they were, it's going to be a double turn. This was not even though the people were booing Cody during the match, it was not a double turn. Yeah, I think it's worse, because at least if Cody had come out of it, if he'd have kicked him in the balls and left him for fucking Brock to chew his carotid artery or whatever, that Cody may be better off than now. Now, yeah, because it wasn't a double turn. Cody didn't turn. He just became the fucking also ran second place sidekick in this whole thing. But he did not turn, so therefore he's just the people just wanted to see the guy that kicked him in the balls win more.
Is the dream over now? And now he's back to being a babyface Cena? Or is it not over really until he officially has his last match in a few months? Because after that point, he's gone. Like, he's right now the center. I mean, what they did at the pay-per-view, that's what you want to see what's going to be next with this. But in a few months, it's over. In a few months, Cody has to step up again. Not that he has to step down, but they need Cody ready to be a top guy again. And right now, more people are booing him than any time in WWE since he returned.
Well, do they? Yeah, we'll talk more about it when we get to the finish of the last thing. But do they have Brock somehow make himself such a heel by savaging Cena before his retirement that then Cody feels that he has to slay Brock to close this whole thing up? Or I don't fucking know.
And who sent Brock? At this point, we're one step closer to Vince being back on TV. Maybe Vince is behind the whole Cena year. We'll find out.
Sable sent Brock.
Ooh.
Sable said, get out of the fucking house once in a while. Go make $10 million.
Well, that was the John Cena babyface turn. I guess that's the only thing we can call it. A very interesting thing. John Cena brought up platinum rappers.
Yes.
And whether it's platinum rappers or platinum pop stars, platinum rock stars, I don't think there are any platinum classical stars, but whatever kind of music you like, platinum Max Caster, you can listen to that music on a brand new, tremendous pair of earbuds that we endorse, that we love here in my house. I know Stacy's a big fan over in yours. Our friends at Raycon.
Over in my what?
Over in yours.
Well, and over in yours too there, pal. I'll tell you, if you want to put the Raycons in yours, that's up to you. I'd stick with the ears. It's easier to hear that way. But folks, whatever it was that Brian was talking about, I would like to apologize for not being able to understand it. But I'd like to tell you about the latest version of the Raycon Everyday Earbuds Classic. You know what classic is? Classic is classic. It's stuff that's timeless. It's stuff that's perfect, like Coca-Cola, instead of New Coke, which sucked. Well, the Earbuds Classic feature the active noise cancellation. The one thing that they were missing before, they've now been added to the Earbuds Classic line. Plus, you got 8 hours of playtime, 32 hours of battery. I don't know if I have the energy to play for 8 hours. Can I sit down and rest during those 8 hours? Do I have to play for the whole time, Brian?
You can do anything you want, listening to great music with a great sound, or maybe a podcast or two on Raycon's Earbud, the classics, a Raycon Classic.
Yes, classic words and phrases. Folks, 32 hours of battery. Hold on. Assault should come before that, because 32 hours of battery would leave you all beat up, but you won't lose power. Your Raycons will never leave your ears. As a matter of fact, once you stick them in, you set the timer, and boom, instantly, when the ding goes off, they pop right out.
The ding won't go off. There will be no ding. That. You will be a dingbat if you believe the ding will go off, but there will be comfort. That is guaranteed. The comfort, you'll put them in your ear. You will expel them from your ear at the time you desire. Raycon.
Well, expel sounds sort of like you got to build up some kind of brain gas and then fart out your ears. They are wireless.
That isn't necessary.
Well, they're wireless, but one tip that I've got is you could take some dental floss and tie them around the little things, and that way you could hang the dental floss in front of you, and whenever you want to listen to somebody else, you just boop, and you just pull them right out.
I've got a tip that is not a tip for Raycon. That is a unfounded tip, but ladies and gentlemen, whether you just want to
just the tip, that's all we want is just the tip, folks. You can go on the internet and see the tip of it and check out their tens of thousands of 5-star reviews, ladies and gentlemen, at Raycon. They love them. The people can't get enough of them. And you can go right now to Buy Raycon, BUYRAYCON, buyraycon.com/JCE, and you're going to get 20% off the fan favorite Everyday Earbuds Classic. An icon has returned in the Everyday Earbud Classic division of things. And you're going to get 20% off of it.
Yes.
Buyraycon.com. That is what they call that division, isn't it? The Everyday Earbud Classic division of things, where it's an icon in that sphere, that realm, that world. Buyraycon.com/JCE. 20% off of these classic Everyday Earbuds Classics. Classic. Is that plural? Everyday Earbuds Classic instead of Everyday Earbud Classics.
Right.
Yes.
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 And free shipping.
Yes.
And free ship. Nobody's going to charge you a goddamn thing.
Free ship.
To carry it right to you, hand it right to you. That's if you sit on your porch all day. Or maybe they'll knock on the door. You can come to the door and then they'll hand it right to you. If you don't get up off your lazy ass and hurry, he's got rounds to keep. And he's got places to go and things to do. If you don't get up quick, it's going to be just sitting on the front porch. Buyraycon.com/JCE.
Yeah, that's right. Buy Raycon. Let's just stress that. Buyraycon.com/JCE.
Yes, that's stressed.
Well, Jim, a stressful weekend if you are a wrestling fan running around. Of course, if you're into more wrestling, there were wrestling conventions in different parts of the country. There were all sorts of independent events. But the main event, of course, SummerSlam. According to them, the biggest SummerSlam of all time. 2 nights in East Rutherford, New Jersey, MetLife Stadium. Let's talk about night 1.
Well, it was definitely the longest SummerSlam of all time, and attendance-wise, because they get to count 2 nights, it'd be hard for one of the one-night SummerSlams to have a bigger attendance than a 2-night, wouldn't it? When you get right down to it, if you're just talking factually. What did
Depends
SummerSlam do? SummerSlam in the big SummerSlam they had in the 80s. Where was it? In Wembley Stadium?
That was in 1992. There were only 2 SummerSlams in the 80s. Madison Square Garden for the debut in 88, and of course the second one in East Rutherford, New Jersey. SummerSlam 89, Feel the Heat.
All right, Randy McNally. I'm just saying, in 92, they had 70,000 people or whatever for Bulldog and Brett, right?
That's right, Bulldog and Brett.
Well, is it fair to their incredible achievement to be able to add the total attendance from 2 nights and beat that? That still doesn't seem fair.
Well, the other thing is, beyond attendance, and this may sound like a crazy thing to a promoter like you, but beyond attendance, sometimes, what's the biggest event? It's more than just the attendance. It's the actual matches and the things that matter and people are buzzing for. And it didn't feel like this was the biggest SummerSlam ever in that respect.
Well, then that's part of it also is, I've said this before, but on pay-per-view, on television, every moment used to count. And even though what entertained Vince McMahon sometimes wasn't necessarily entertaining to the rest of the world, he got mad when you had TV where nothing was happening and nothing entertaining was going on at that particular time. They had a wonderful hour and 45-minute fucking show each night. It just took them 3 hours and 15 minutes to do it. But I think part of it, you can't get a flow between the commercials and the travelogues and the spots for the sake of the spots and the little advertising placements and the reads and the guests and the drawn out entrances just by the fact that they got to walk fucking 3.5 miles in a stadium to get to the ring. it brings the energy down. And then there was a couple of big things that you mentioned, Brian, where people wanted to see what was going to happen with Cena and Cody. They wanted to see, to some extent, what was going to happen with Jelly Roll, I'm sorry to say. But because it was spread out over, it was diluted so much by just let's have 12 matches and we can have everybody on the card because we've got 2 nights to fill. There's no urgency anymore. And there's no like, goddamn, this. We used to attack angles even in the 90s WWF days, much less in the 80s when it was really important. Attack angles and issues and the card, and if we got it right, because it meant success or failure and feast or famine and bologna or fucking filet. And now they're making so much goddamn money. And I'm not talking about the boys, I'm talking about everybody. They're making so much money, they can just do this shit. And let's spend a couple minutes on pyro here. Boom, 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 boom. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you understand what I am saying?
I do. That's the way I felt too. I mean, there are moments. WWE is now built on giving people big moments, big surprise pops, more than the matches or anything else. There are certain things that click, but a lot of stuff is just happening and people are staring at it, but it doesn't seem as hot. Doesn't seem, you use the word urgent. It doesn't seem to be a lot of that. I've said it for a while, this whole year, since the beginning, since the Royal Rumble, has kind of felt off. Some of that's The Rock, some of that's the Cena heel turn, but it's more than that. They're almost just giving you enough to propel things to the next thing, but they're barely giving you anything like they used to, it seems like. Meanwhile, they're charging more, they're selling more, they're doing great business. It may be down a little bit from the peak, but they're doing extraordinary business and not giving away too much.
Well, and what do you say, down a little bit from the peak as far as selling live event tickets, maybe, but the TV money and all the sponsorships and the bribes that the cities are giving them to please come here and all that stuff. That's why I say it's just, every once in a while, you'll have a good little wrestling match if you can just wade through all this stuff. And speaking of which, who is Breland? Who is Breland who sang the national anthem? It's like listening to one of the Chipmunks slowed down.
I'm not too familiar with Mr. Breland.
Why couldn't they have had Cardi B? Because she's a singer, right? Why couldn't she have done the national anthem and we could have saved some time because she was the host? But she's a singer who didn't sing.
She's more of a rapper than a singer, and also, rapping in the studio is a little different than singing not even the national anthem, America the Beautiful.
Or whatever the fuck it was. Well, Breland did it. It wasn't like just because he couldn't sing didn't meant anything to him.
It's so awkward, too, when they have some people like Breland, and there were 2 young ladies who did a country rendition of national anthem again, of God Bless America the next night. And then later on, they show them in the crowd. I guess before they're shuffled away so someone else could sit in those seats. The crowd doesn't react. The crowd reacted a little bit more to WWE icon Stephanie McMahon, naturally. But, like, the people they have singing there, they don't react to. And then they go to, like, a commercial for something else. I mean, there was a lot of commercials, and some of it seemed like had nothing to do with wrestling at all. It's just like, oh, this is a commercial. And, again, they're with a company that represents a lot of different people, a lot of different talent, and there's a lot going on.
There's no skyline of East Rutherford, New Jersey so they showed the view of New York City from East Rutherford. I've seen that many times, but back to Cardi B. I'd heard the name before. So nobody could say I didn't know who Cardi B was. I knew that there was a Cardi B. I just had no visual reference, and I've never heard her speak. So I have 2 questions. One, is that who Mercedes Moon is trying to be? And secondly, is her gimmick that she screams incoherently at people that she's never met just because she's so excited?
I don't think Mercedes is based on her. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. And secondly, I don't think she does too many promos, so I don't think that's really her gimmick. I think she just, again, these people sing and do their thing, but not too many people give them a mic and say, here, go out there and do a promo. So she was excited. She seemed to be into it.
She was wearing a preposterous dress. She said nothing, contributed nothing, screamed like a banshee. We had to listen to some of her rotten song, and then it was over. And she couldn't even be bothered to sing the rotten song on her way out. What good is she? What did she do here? What purpose did she serve? Again, did they sell a bunch of tickets when they said, "Oh, Cardi B is going to be here"? Oh shit, got to go now. Wouldn't have touched it with a goddamn 10-foot pole before.
No, they used to use any celebrity they could, like in the old days, but they would really hype them up to be bigger than you thought they were. Like, Bob Uecker will be there. You would think Bob Uecker was like the biggest actor in the world. And he was great. But they would hype people up. And I think the goal was that people would actually want to see this person somehow involved in the wrestling. Liberace, Muhammad Ali, whatever. They barely built up the Cardi B thing. They announced she was hosting a while back. And I don't think anyone gave a shit. And it's not even about her at that point.
Well, that was pretty much it for her, right? The open thing here, because I tried to skip through.
They showed her in the crowd.
That's where she ought to be. So then we started out with the tag team match. And it was a bright ass day in New Jersey. It doesn't have the nice ambiance till it gets dark up there. But by the time that Jey Uso yeeted through the entire stadium and got to ringside, and thank God he must have felt like, because thank God Roman was next, because he got like 5 more minutes to breathe, Jey. And Roman was in about 5 minutes later, and then here came the Bronze, Reed and Breaker. And they rang the bell for the first match. It was 20 minutes into the show. But again, I think they started off with probably definitely the future of the company and probably the best athletic display. And they kind of tapered down from there over the course of the weekend. But I love Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker as a tag team with Paul Heyman. And whether or not Seth Rollins, we'll get to that, whether or not Seth Rollins was involved in the group, that strengthens it. But if you made Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed the tag team champions and make them a regular tag team while Seth Rollins is in a group as the world champion, and then later on there can be tension because they've clearly, well, first with the tag team champions, then they could just mow down all of the other tag teams that were in that stupid ladder match on the roster because they've made all of them equal and meaningless on the mid card. Just beat them all. And then top guys would have to start teaming up to try to face and conquer Reed and Breaker. And then that might even be something that renovated the Usos for a short run to help Jimmy out a little bit, if nothing else. There's my yard mowers. But then you'd have a set of tag team champions that meant something, and you'd have some action in the tag team division that you could put at the top of the cards. And at the same time, then, because they've clearly placed Braun Breaker ahead of Bronson Reed in the pecking order, because they know he is the future star and he can talk and a blah, 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 then eventually you could have issues between Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins over who is the dominant guy in the group, much less tag team or single or whatever. And then you could do whatever you wanted out of that. Do you see where I'm going with this, Brian? I like the idea that they could do something to elevate these guys and put them in this group and elevate the tag team title at the same time. And, with tag teams like Roman Reigns and fucking Jey Uso, then as baby faces to challenge them or the Usos or whatever, you might start making people think the tag team belts are important again.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I'll just say it here. I'm kind of not enthused about more Rollins. I was really looking forward to him being out for a long time with a knee injury. Even after we started thinking it could be a work, I was like, no, I really just want him off Raw for an extended period of time.
I had really sold myself on liking the idea that Paul gave the case to Braun Breaker.
It would have been better. Hey, yeah, listen, if night one ended with Braun Breaker coming out there to cash in, I would have been happier. I know people were happy because the heel whose song they like to sing won. But I think I was really looking forward to it.
Goddamn, in that case, Elton John could have been a hell of a wrestler. But anyway, this tag team match, I'm not going to go blow by blow. But they all four know what they're doing to some extent. Jay, again, the timing issues and the whole thing, but they're over. Braun Breaker is the future of the business. Again, they set up at one point, what I thought was going to be the hottest hot tag that I'd seen in a while in this whole company. Jay was about to make it to Roman and the heels with perfect timing. Right as Jay dove, they jerked Roman off the apron of the ring so that Jay missed. So it was a great hot tag attempt and a great foil. But then when Jay turned around and a minute later DDT'd Bronson Reed and Roman got back up to the apron and they just did simultaneous tags. I mean, it was a big pop for Roman anyway because they wanted to see him come in. But they made the perfect hot tag just seconds earlier, except they didn't actually make it. It was a false hot tag. And then the real hot tag was simultaneous. Here you go. I was like, fuck. But nevertheless, the same shit. The pattern starts where there's the big dives. And Roman hit a big dive where he actually went over both of the heels almost. It took a giant backdrop to the floor. And it got back up. And they teased Braun Breaker and Roman Reigns, which everybody wants to see at some point. But then they would get, broken off into some other combination. But there is some more dives where Bronson Reed, I think it was, dove on both of the baby faces and went right through them face first. But thankfully he was okay. And the Braun Breaker brought out the old Steiner Bulldog. They gave it to Uso. But it just...
What'd you think of the Roman dive where he cleared both Braun and Bronson? And
Well, yeah, no, that's the one where he took that big... It looked like he took a giant backdrop, just a big double backdrop over to the floor. But that's the thing is that they're all doing these fucking things and they've set in a pattern that nothing can stop anybody. And I liked Braun Breaker. He had taken the straps down once to fucking, go crazy. And then he got mad and he put them back up to take them back down again. I mean, this kid is going to make tens of millions of dollars. It's insane. I haven't seen anybody this good in fucking 20 years. But nevertheless, after all of that, they almost kill each other and they fucking, the finish is over and over. Then Uso hit Reed with a super kick and splashed him 1, 2, 3. So I wrote at the bottom, a pleasure to watch Braun Breaker, so good, so young. Rest of it, too many stunts and a little long, over 20 minutes. I forgot about the spear through the barrier. They did that. Remember when you had never seen anybody get speared through the barrier? Oh shit, look at that.
It's every week.
And now it's the same place every time too. And they think I know when people go to see the fucking Rolling Stones in concert, they want to hear Jumpin' Jack Flash, but how can the most shocking thing that's ever happened happen at every show? But nevertheless, I'm being nitpicky already. Brian, your thoughts while I regain my composure.
I thought it was okay. You know, it was the opening match. They wanted to get people going. Braun Breaker, I agree, so impressive. Jey Uso was really pissing me off. He was just calling spots. He was just talking to the person while like throwing punches. Just standing there talking. It's a problem show-wide. Cena's always been bad. I even saw Gunther do it. Is it that guys are sloppier now or lazier now or just don't protect it now? Or is it that everything being in HD and mic'd so well, even though it's more visual than audio, that we see it more than ever before?
A combination of all those things. Because you definitely, well, that's one thing. When we got to World Class, me and the Midnight Express in Dallas in 85, the guys that told us they've got microphones on the ring posts. And that was one good thing about working with, I wish we were working for the Fantastics, working with the Fantastics every night for 6 months. We may not have gotten matches with the Von Erichs where the big money was, but we'd have to talk to Bobby and Tommy. They didn't call shit. We knew it already. We just did it every night, right? But that was an anomaly at the time where you didn't have microphones and especially like they do now, all around the ring, on the posts and blah, 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 blah. So part of it is that, yes, you can hear more of it now, but still the visually HD has a little bit to do with it. But when they've had great camera work for 25, 30 years, whatever, and guys have gotten, I think, more in the habit of it just being accepted or something they have to do because they're having to go from one pre-planned thing to another. 30 years ago, you could have seen some guys calling spots, but they weren't calling that many spots because there's a difference between calling spots and reminding someone what they have to do next and shit. We don't have time to sit here in this chin lock and hide it. We're rushing now. So 30 years ago, the guys were actually calling logical, simple shit for the most part that they could hide and that there wasn't pressure on them to do this ridiculous and who's going to be in the right place and there's 15 people need to catch me or is the furniture here or whatever. So that's causing guys, I think, to have to talk more. You can hear it better. You can see it better. And guys are honestly just looser about it and not as concerned about it as we would have been back in the day when you'd have got fired for it. Does that make any sense?
It does.
Well, and it made more sense than the rest of this show. Now, but anyway, so that was that match. And then they had another match. The women's tag team title was up, Brian, with Roxanne Perez and Rochelle defending against Charlotte and Alexa Bliss. One person on each team 6 feet tall, the other person's 4'6". People like Charlotte now because she's with Alexa. This is what the reason why they're cheering Charlotte now is because they like this tag team. To me, it looks like Celine Dion or Celine Dion, whatever her name is. Celine Dion and Courtney Love is what I'm trying to say. Is it the odd couple pairing that they like is what I'm trying to find out. Because why do they suddenly like Charlotte now? Because she's teamed up with this little Chucky doll carrying pixie.
Is that a question? Yes.
Yes.
I think.
Why would that be?
I think Charlotte needed that, whether it's Alexa Bliss or someone else. Charlotte needed to be put with someone the fans are predisposed to cheering for whatever reason, to help her, and it has. And it's kind of, again, it's exactly what she needed, and it's bringing out, the best in her, I think. Not having to deal with that.
Well, I watched a few minutes. They were going 100 miles an hour, but they were doing it well. It wasn't as sloppy or indie level as you would see the women's matches in the other company. And everybody looked like an athlete, except Alexa Bliss cannot weigh 100 pounds, can she? Is she 5 feet tall?
You're asking a lot of questions. I would assume
Roxanne Perez looks like a Luger next to her.
She may be in the range of 5 feet, maybe a little bit bigger than that, and maybe a little bit bigger than 100, but that's the general range, I would assume.
All right. Well, what happened here? Because I don't know.
Charlotte and Alexa Bliss won the tag titles to a huge pop from the fans. And now Roxanne and Raquel, who I've enjoyed together. I think that's actually one of the best things on WWE TV right now. Now the Judgment Day does not have the women's tag titles.
Well, that's a shame.
And those were Liv's tag titles.
Now, see, just by the way, so that everybody doesn't think that, oh, he just irrationally praises Charlotte. I didn't watch this because I don't care about the women's tag team title. But I would like to see Charlotte back in singles competition at some point again against like one of 2 or 3 other girls on the roster. Otherwise, there's a lot of girls on this roster, as we've seen. All right. Are you ready, Brian, for you've heard of the shot clock in basketball. We've got the bump counter on Karrion Kross. Did you keep a bump counter?
You know, it was taking too long. So I gave up my account somewhere in there after like 2.
Well, I kept it. And by the way, the entrance with Karrion Kross and Scarlett, it's shot well and it's very creative, but it seems like a kind of a waste of time on. He's going to be where he is right now, isn't he?
If they wanted to elevate him, they've had a few chances, it seems like lately, and they decided to not do it. It's one of those things where he's getting himself over with the fans, and WWE saying, not now. Just not now.
Not now. Well, Sami Zayn and Karrion Kross, and of course, as we did last time, because it was brought to our attention, that the rumor was, we don't know if this is fact, but a lot of people saying it, but the rumor was that they didn't want to push Karrion Kross because he was afraid to take bumps. As silly as that sounds, it's unusual. One would think that choosing that line of work, you'd already kind of be past that, but maybe with the stupid shit they do with furniture, you may have something. If he told them in the past, I'm not going to fall through a bunch of fucking tables, I'm a wrestler. Well, then in that case, I would have respect for him. But nevertheless, for the sake of it, we thought that last time we would check and see. And he went through the entire match with Sami, who is very easy to work with, but he went through the whole match and took like 3 fucking legitimate bumps, right? You remember? And what did we say last week when we previewed this? I said, okay, I'm going to say 5. Did I say 5?
Maybe. I think I said 9. You may have said 5. I don't remember.
I think because it was SummerSlam, I figured he'd go to 5, whatever. But, well, here we go. Ding, ding, ding. This is every time that he left his feet, except like if he one time he slipped and kind of went to a knee. I didn't count that, right? We're talking every time he left his feet, whether it was to deliver an offensive or defensive move, we're going to list it. And you're going to notice something, Brian, because I noticed something now that's added new depth to this potential fucking rumor we've heard. Number 1, he got clotheslined over the top rope. He landed on his feet and then collapsed to the floor. But that's keep track of that. That's 1 bump he took, right? Number 2, he's on the floor. Sami jumped up on the barrier and did the moonsault, and he caught Sami, and as Sami landed on his feet to the side, Karrion Kross kind of went down easy to the floor.
Yeah, is that a bump?
Well, that's technically he caught the guy on the moonsault and went down, so that's a bump, but it's very easy. Very easy. So there's 2. But then he gave Sami Zayn a Death Valley driver. And he gave Sami Zayn a suplex. And he hit the ground really hard on giving those, but we can't count them because they ain't bumps. He didn't take a bump, he gave a bump. And then he took a standard flat back bump from Sami's axe handle. That's number 3. And then he took a flat back bump off the axe handle again. There's number 4, right? Then he gave Sami a fisherman suplex. If you know, every time he gives these things, boy, he throws the guy and he lands with authority. But when the guy's giving him something and he's just taking it, he just boop. So then after the fisherman suplex, he took a clothesline and took another flat back bump. There's 5. So now that's my estimate. And then he came back and gave a Saito suplex and a bam, just fucking planted Sami. And then Scarlett handed Kross a 3-foot-long, quote-unquote, lead pipe that he was supposed to try to secrete underneath him until she could draw the referee. Like when Tommy Young used to say Brute Bernard was like just a crazy man. It would go out and get a board from underneath the ring and stick it in the back of his tights, and he'd be sticking 6 inches up over his head. He'd get back in the ring and tell him, "Don't see it." So he's got a 3-foot lead pipe. She draws the referee. He swings it. Sami ducks and hits the Blue Thunder Bomb. And there's number 6. And he had to take that son of a bitch because that's Sami's deal. And then as he's selling, Scarlett comes around and hands the pipe to Sami. I'm saying, well, what a fucking bitch. With girls like that, just hand the guy that wants to beat you up a lead pipe. It's part of the mind games that they're playing, which don't make any sense. Because then, if it was a normal human, Sami would have just hit the fucking guy with the lead pipe and then shoved it up her ass and called it a day. But instead, he's thinking about it. And then he tossed it out and Kross schoolboyed him 1-2. And then Sami suplexed Kross into the turnbuckle where he kind of hit. So that's 7. So I'm already shot. And then he took the crumble bump on the haluva kick 1, 2, 3. So you were closer. You said 9. There was 8. I said 5. But the only times that he ever actually hit the fucking ground hard besides the Blue Thunder Bomb were when he was given something instead of taking it.
And it was 8 last time too?
No, I think last time it was, I'm trying to remember what number we came up with. I think it was only 5 or 6, but only 2 or 3 of them were actually legitimate bumps. The other were Ox Bakers. So point is, it's fascinating until I see this guy get backdropped over the top rope through a goddamn refrigerator case. I'm going to be convinced that he's the best worker in the business because he's having these matches and nobody ever sees that he never takes a fucking decent bump. So bravo to him.
No one ever sees him get a decent push either. Again, it seemed like he was getting over. The fans have been into him. He lost to Sami last time too, didn't he?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, hopefully Sami said it's over. Hopefully it really is, because I kind of don't want to see Sami for a while.
It will never be over.
And Karrion needs, if they're going to do something with him, now's the time. Either now or never. It's now or never.
Well, I think they need to carry on with Karrion. Carry on my wayward son. Oh. Yeah.
All right. Well, what was next on this summertime extravaganza?
Well, one of the many women's championships was up for grabs there with Jade Cargill and Tiffy Storm. Our girl Tiffy time.
Tiffy Stratton.
Tiffy
What?
Stratton. Yes, Tiffy. Well, I thought she was Lance's daughter. I didn't know.
There was a storm because Jade. She brings
that's
a
right.
storm with her because she looks like
Yeah,
Storm
okay.
from the X-Men.
Well, I thought it was because she spent the night in a haunted house and it turned her hair gray. It was a dark and stormy night. Anyway, I'd like, this is your regular reminder. The ring announcer's hair is ridiculous. I would fine her if she showed up to television with that Bride of Frankenstein do on.
You know, I understand why she left, and I understand people wanting to do their own creative things, especially if they are a creative person. And obviously her husband isn't there anymore, and that plays into it. But I really do miss Samantha Irvin on these shows. She really did. She really did amp things up the right way without making... I know people thought she made herself the show, but I kind of thought it was the opposite.
Well, at least she didn't have that hair and she was good at it. But why don't Shawty want to do the ring announcing no more?
Well, she's working.
That's what we need to find out.
She's working on her music.
Well, let her sing them. And in this corner, in this magic moment, we have the contender. See, it could be a whole new thing.
This magic moment. I don't know how you threw that in the middle of this. The Drifters. But let's go. Let's drift back to this review.
I could have been singing from under the boardwalk. So Tiffy is back to being a heel, even though they liked her a while back. And I know they're going to say, oh, Cornette, you don't pay attention to the women's matches. They did this. Or you're right. I don't care.
Was she a heel?
Well, she's the heel because Jade Cargill was the babyface.
I don't think Tiffy's a heel.
Well, I don't know why I'm
calling her Tiffy. Tiffany Stratton.
Well, whatever the fuck. Nevertheless, they did fairly well. This was Jade's best match, I guess, ever probably, because she didn't just, go off the reservation or noticeably, confused or whatever. It wasn't the most complicated thing ever, but they did a number of things. Sounds like there was a pretty rotten looking yay boo. But Tiffy did the moonsault and Jade raised the feet and hit her finish. They got the foot on the ropes. And then, of course, Jade had to try to do the finish off the top, and Tiffany had to help climb up there, obviously, because they've all got to do these top rope things that there's no conceivable way you could do without cooperation. But at least she did the forward roll and foiled Jade, and then out of kind of sort of nowhere, it seemed like, hit the moonsault, boom, 1, 2, 3. But I didn't know whether they would beat Jade or not, but I think they've come to realize that, she still needs help, and Tiffy may be not only more accomplished and more further along, but also just as popular. And, but at least Jade didn't jade it up too bad. Obviously they had practiced it beforehand and walked through it many times or whatever, but it wasn't rotten. Am I getting easier in my old age?
No, I thought it was pretty good. And again, I expected the worst. I don't know why. Maybe that's unfair, but I thought it was pretty good. Jade getting pinned cleanly says something. It was a good competitive match. Obviously, they may not see Jade the same way they did when they first got her from AEW, but it doesn't mean she can't do other things, but she just is not going to be Bianca or Rhea or any of the top people, probably.
Now, how old is she? Did we ever talk about that?
I mean, we may have a long time ago. Hold on.
The flying fingers of Google.
33.
By the time, because we won't count any of her time in AEW against her because she wasn't learning anything. She's been there for about a year and a half now. By the time she really gets any kind of decent experience, she's going to be in her late 30s. But she looks in wonderful shape. I'm sure she takes care of herself and jogs regularly. So who knows? Maybe she'll get it one of these days.
All right, you know what that means. SummerSlam continues.
Oh, all right.
And we are still in night one, and now we got a good, come on, now it got you going. I got a good attitude going. Night one continues.
Well, let's talk about Jelly Roll. You want to talk about Jelly Roll? You know, I have to, it's an accomplishment. We have to recognize the effort that the man made. He lost 240 pounds to get to 299 pounds. Did you hear this story?
I heard them talking about his weight loss, yes.
And I don't think he's been doing it. He didn't start at the Performance Center and lose 240 pounds in 3 months or whatever, obviously. But one of the big feature matches for SummerSlam was Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre against Randy Orton and Jelly Roll. Now, I will say in his defense, he does work better than the other Jelly. He is at least somewhat believable. Jelly Roll's Jelly Roll's wife is named Bunny XO. Did you see Bunny, Brian?
I'm not familiar.
Are you talking to me on mute?
I'm not familiar with her. I don't know anything about Bunny.
You didn't see her when they got
I saw her there, and that was the first time I ever saw or heard of her in my life.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Did you see her there? Because she's a podcast host. She's our competition. You ought to know who the fuck she is.
Better watch out, Bunny.
If you took a picture of Jelly Roll and you took a picture of Bunny XO, would you put them together and say, yeah, I bet these two people would be married? Not trying to criticize either one of them.
We'll get back to the match in 1 second, and this isn't anything about Jelly Roll the person, because he actually seems like a very nice guy. He actually seems like a perfectly fine, good person.
He does. You think somebody held him down and put all them tattoos on his face?
Well, I guess musically is my issue, and some of these characters. My biggest hope in life is that somewhere right now there's just a group of kids that will grow up and it'll be that era's punk rock, and they'll just rebel against all of this sound, all of these people. Just, it's completely out of step with, I don't know, with me and with others. There has to be a punk rock for now. There has to be kids saying, fuck all this country glam wannabe rap bullshit. Fuck it all. And fuck these people. We need real people.
I bet you from the looks of Bunny XO, she said, I'll fuck it all.
Man, they used to at least have good gimmick names. John Doe. Oh, okay, that's good. Bunny X, and now it's just letters put together. You don't even know how you're supposed to pronounce it.
See, you're behind the times, Brian. You're old.
Goodbye. Yeah, you're right, I am. And goodbye to all these people. That's what I say. I need just somewhere, some kid has to come up with good songs and say, fuck you to the system and these people. Write about these people. Write about, get off my TV, you people. Just write that song. Well, there you go.
I want to know why you don't look like Bunny XO.
Bunny XO.
She's a podcast host. How come I don't get her? I get you. Do you think, how much money does Jelly have in his role?
I don't know. You know, the money right now is in touring. And I believe he's been touring for a while, and I believe he's opened for some big acts, so he's probably made some good money.
Well, to keep Bunny in her podcasts, he better. Holy mackerel.
He made enough money to say, I'm going to walk away from this for a while and move to Florida to go to the training facility.
Walk away from all of what?
Bunny
the jelly or the rolling?
Bunny and the road and the band.
Looks like Bunny went with him. If I was him, I wouldn't let Bunny out of my sight. Should we talk about this match?
We better.
Oh, God damn it. And again, Logan Paul, again, he is he's incredible because he's got to the point now where he knows how to bounce off the guy already. Because here was the thing, with Jelly's offense for a celebrity wasn't that bad because the other guys were so good they could bounce off of him, they could feed him, they could bump, they could be in the right place. If you notice, Jelly was most of the time when he was doing things actively, was standing in the same place and other people were coming to him and etc. And that wasn't horrible. But every time it's something that required experience or knowledge or just being good at this, mainly when he was on defense, he couldn't sell. He was trying, but he sold like a guy that can't work. It's awkward. It's stiff body movements. There's no flow. But, you know, when a guy never has had a match in front of people and you're trying to get him to work with two of the top guys in the business in front of 50,000 people, he wasn't the most offensive thing I saw all weekend was they can't have a goddamn match in this company without destroying an entire Home Depot. But, you know, while I would have much preferred him as a special manager to counteract the, you know, the evil Bobby the Brain Heenan, that would have been lovely. He's wrestling, but it wasn't as bad as it could be, but it's still kind of preposterous, I guess. I don't know. Compared to some of the other stuff in the following night, this wasn't nearly the worst thing. Of course, he did get blown up doing all that stuff, but anyway, what happened? I can't remember. Somebody, oh yeah, Logan Paul splashed jelly through the fucking desk at ringside, so that could be the viral moment. And everybody's going, oh, look what Jelly Roll did. Jelly Roll fucking laid there. Logan Paul, the goddamn, he flew 25 feet.
It was a frog splash.
That guy's insane.
Yeah, no, he's incredible. He's one of the great naturals we've ever seen.
But I don't know if I would give Jelly Roll any credit except for being stupid enough to lay there underneath it because he thought, oh, wow, this will get me over with the boys.
Hey, that was my biggest problem with the match. I liked the match. I actually thought it was all working and the fans were into it. And Jelly Roll, I think, did a really good job. But the 10 minutes of him selling that and then walking out of there where they convinced me he was about to keel over and die. And then for him to make a comeback. I thought that was too much for someone who's not a wrestler.
That's when they leaped fully over the great white shark, is what you're saying. Because that, again, he didn't do bad. And Orton did a lot of stuff and the blah, blah, blah. The big splash, boom. They're carrying him out or taking him out, helping him out. And that's when the heels just did nothing forever but laugh at him as they're so slowly taking him out that you know he's not leaving. And then he turned around and he wanted to come back and got up to the apron and made then I'm like, okay, now we can't even hurt a goddamn formerly fat, now just chubby singer. And he makes a comeback. And the clothesline and the choke slam and the Bubba slam. And the people were buying it. But, he basically boom, boom, boom. Well, finally, Orton RKO Drew and Logan Paul posted Orton and then splashed Jelly 1, 2, 3. So they beat him, but not until after he made a comeback like he was Dusty Rhodes in the Miami Beach Convention Center. Yeah. But it was an attraction.
He got pinned. He seemed to have the right spirit about the whole thing. I thought he wasn't bad in there. And again, the selling, the length of time selling for him to make the comeback, I mean, even though he got pinned, I thought that was too much. But Logan Paul is so impressive.
Yeah.
He's just so impressive. And I actually ended up really enjoying this match.
Well, then maybe that made up for some of it.
You didn't like it at all just because of the celebrity? Or
No. I know. That's what I'm saying is I didn't want to like it. He wasn't as bad as I was afraid he might be. It did get over with the people. They did the right shit up until the time that he was murdered and still had to come back and get another comeback. But, I just don't know if it was on a more local level. And I can see, an old-fashioned heel team like Wayne Ferris and Larry Latham taking bumps for the, fat local singer or whatever. But It's come to this.
Yeah, but he was the smallest person in the ring. That shocked me too. Drew towers over him. Orton towers over him. Logan may have been the same height, if not a little bit taller than him. He was the smallest guy in there.
Well, but now wait, you're measuring wrong. Instead of from the ground up, measure from the belt buckle around.
Oh. See, there it is.
There it is.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, on some occasions they've won with Jelly Roll, with Bad Bunny. Whatever you want to say, they took their celebrity. They came in with the right attitude. They took it seemed like more seriously than some of the people who work there, who were just ready to break kayfabe left and right. And then there's Travis Scott, who came there with the attitude, smacked the champion in the fucking face, and then never came back again.
I bet one of these days Cody's just going to hunt him down on the street somewhere to get that fucking receipt because he thought he was going to get it in a ring.
I bet you some wrestler will one day.
Well, anyway, are you ready for the main event, Brian, of night one for the World Championship? One of them, at least. CM Punk and Gunther. I will say that the stadium looks better after dark. I've got to mention that. And we were 2.5 hours in. It wasn't that long of a show. The people were up for it. The crowd had been somewhat mild in a lot of spots, except for the holy shit moments, and they loved a jelly roll. But this, again, it started, I was really liking things, and then sometimes they take a turn. But it was the first wrestling match of the night, actually, where they started locking up and shit. And wrestling, and Punk was working an arm. And I see what they were going for because of what was going to happen at the end. But they had to, they were telling the story that Punk just got the shit kicked out of him through this whole thing. He would still keep fighting, but he would get turned back. And finally, after a long and vicious war, he would win by the skin of his teeth and have absolutely nothing left. But I still think they could have told this story about 10 or 12 minutes shorter, don't you? When it came down to it.
It took a while. It took a while. And I mean, at one point, Punk was down on the ground for such a long time talking to the referee. I was like, did something go wrong? But then everything continued as normal, but it took a while. It seemed like they were drawing it out.
Again, love Gunther. And it's his style that he's the dominant physical guy and that the other guy fights from underneath, the babyface. And Punk did that fine. He sells. You can feel the pain because of the face that he makes and the body language. And Gunther's chops are vicious, but Punk would fight back, and Gunther would bully him and trash talk him. And everything that they did made sense. Everybody reacted to it in the proper ways. And both guys did their trademark stuff. It's just, it went so long. Possibly because they felt they had to because of the afterbirth they were doing. But otherwise, and the one spot, Gunther climbed up on the ringside desk to gloat, and Punk jerked his feet out from under him, and bam, he went down and rolled under the desk and came back out bleeding. Poor Gunther. He didn't want to be seen, but that must mean he's not confident in his sleight of hand. So there is possibly a small notch knocked out of his armor. If I could only think of another way to say that.
They sold it as the blood coming from his nose, that it was his nose.
Well, and he was selling it good too, because covering his nose and trying to, so that part, it looked, and that was a pretty nice little touch there. But nevertheless, they got into it from there with the Punk made the comeback, the elbow off the top. Gunther got the sleeper. Punk got under it, hit a GTS. And then fucking Gunther staggered, but he didn't go down. So Punk got under him and hit another one. Boom, 1, 2, 3, and won the belt and got a huge pop. That worked just fine. And he's the new champion, and he's crying. You can see the tears. He's handed the belt. He hugs the belt. The people are chanting CM Punk. Gunther is rolled out to attend to his bloodiness. And suddenly, burn it down! They did it anyway. And Seth comes out on crutches and a knee brace, but of course, then he drops the crutches, takes the brace off. And I got a bunch of people on Twitter saying, see, Brian was right. They did it. And I apologize for being wrong. I had no idea that many experienced, bright, creative people, including Heyman, would sacrifice a network TV special to do really bad, rotten, awkward television on purpose for the sake of the particular cash-in that they just did here. I'm not opposed to the cash-in. It was perfect time because Punk was beat to shit and a blah, blah, blah. But to go to all that trouble of stinking the joint out to make people believe it was real, to show them that it wasn't. There had
what about
to be
working the boy? What about working the...
Well, they're working it well. Most, like I said at the time, I can understand working the boys these days because if you didn't, I'm surprised everybody's personal phone number's not out on Twitter. These bunch of loose-lipped bastards. But for something as insignificant as that, and then when people knew about it anyway, or thought they knew about it, or everybody was talking about it, but I was wrong in that I didn't believe that they would purposely do rotten television on a network special just to do this. If they'd have done it in some type of way where it didn't stink the show up, then I would be just happy as a clam.
Right before the Goldberg retirement match.
Right before the Goldberg retirement match, which then turned around and the end of that stunk the show up, where they didn't even fucking get the speech. But nevertheless.
And Jim, one more thing about Rollins coming out there. Again, isn't part of the problem he's doing this all babyface style? He comes out there and dramatically turns around, drops the crutches, removes the knee brace, all for pops.
Yeah.
While they sing his music. Isn't that part of the problem? How could you be a heel if everything you do is a babyface? Or babyface style?
Well, I don't think they care anymore because they're just doing holy shit over and over. What's a guy going through furniture, or he's not injured after all? Maybe he isn't. We don't. There was no sneakiness and underhandedness in what they did here. And it's hard to get heat on a guy, number one, when everybody likes to sing his song, but when they've told people, oh, he's injured, he's going to be out for months. Well, they don't want him to be hurting out for months. So when he comes back, yes, they're cheering. Oh, he's back. He's not hurt after all. Yay. Now he'll go in and beat up CM Punk, beat him over the head with a briefcase 7 times, give him the curb stomp 1, 2, 3. Now they've seen a happening. I don't know if it got that much heat. But you see what I'm saying is when they've told, the only other thing they could have said, well, unfortunately, he's dead. You'll never see him again because he's died. And then the next show, he's, oh, thank God he's not dead.
And now we get more Punk Rollins.
Yes.
Is that what you want?
And
is that what you want?
That's the thing is, I was kind of hoping down deep in my little heart of hearts that it would be Paul handing the briefcase to Braun Breaker. And when Seth did come back after a number of months as a babyface to get his property back from his evil fucking backstabbing former manager, you could get Seth Rollins as a babyface and Braun Breaker for the world title. That I kind of liked.
And they set something up too. I mean, if you think about it, Gunther lost the title and then immediately Punk is screwed. They also set up dissension between Gunther and the Heyman group with Braun Breaker on Raw.
Well, and here's another problem, because when Heyman's other guys came in to celebrate, Braun had his knee wrapped up and was limping somewhat. So hopefully they didn't.
There was footage that was going around of him limping backstage after his match.
I get a lot of stunts. I didn't see anything in the ring that should have injured him. So is it all these goddamn stunts?
At this point, if anyone in the Heyman group cries knee injury, are you going to believe him?
Well, and there's the problem also.
Yeah, and again, John Pollock had the story. He was told exactly what was going to happen with Rollins going down with a knee injury. And that's exactly what played out. So we'll see where they go. Seth Rollins, the new either world champion or WWE. What is he? Is he the world champion? World champion.
World champion.
And of course, Jim, after the first full day of SummerSlam, nonstop wrestling action in the sun, you may want a good night's sleep. You may be amped up and you may say, I need a little bit of help to get a great night's sleep tonight. And we know someone who could help all the listeners.
Well, it's not someone, it's something, Brian. Get the grammatical verbiage correct. It's a thing, it's a product, it's a concoction that you can use to make sure that you get the good sleep. Because after you've been hearing that pyro in that stadium all night, you got that ringing in your head, you can't sleep. Even when you're trying to count sheep, every time the sheep goes over the fence, it gets shot down by a piece of pyro. So you need to go to the Beams Dream Powder, because the Dream Powder, we've talked about, the all-natural sleep blend with science-backed ingredients designed to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed. And you don't have to worry about sheep being shot in your sleep. You're going to sleep the silence of the sheep.
We don't.
See,
we don't guarantee what you will dream about. We can guarantee a good night's sleep.
Well, if you're dreaming about sheep, I'm telling you, there may be some type of perverted situation in your childhood. But
I don't know what goes on over there. But also,
we talked about this. We talked about the science of the lambs. Now we're talking about the silence of the sheep. Because it'll just be quiet and peaceful. Dee, 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 dee. See that kind of tune? When you take the Beam Dream Powder, you're going to be sleeping in silence, like in a cocoon of sensory deprivation, where all you're doing is you're sleeping, you're relaxing, you're recharging your body. And unlike Brian, other sleep aids, no next day grogginess. Boom, your eyes open up. It's like somebody hit you with an electric charge. You're ready to take on the day. As a matter of fact, Stacy takes this stuff all the time. She subscribes. She orders, she has the little Beam mug. Every morning when she wakes up, she throws the window open, ready to take on the day. She says, "Hey, fuck you, day. You're going down. Soon as I get out there, you better not be on my front porch when I open the door." Every once in a while, she kicks the mailman in the balls. He happens to be there.
I don't know about any of that. And again, this is not advisable if you live in a tenement or something. But Jim,
if you live in a tenement, you need even more help getting to sleep to forget about the fucking hovel you live in.
Once again, let's talk about the sleep. Let's focus on the sleep.
There.
Let's focus on the sleep. You can be anywhere you want when you have a good night's sleep.
You can't just sleep on a goddamn, just on a mound in the middle of the interstate.
Well, I meant like if you have a good dream. In your dreams, you could be anywhere. You could be in Tahiti.
Well, you're going to be flat on your back in the morgue if you go to sleep on the interstate.
Well, don't do that.
And a lot of people should, you know what? A lot of people shouldn't be sleeping so much, because if they live in a tenement, like you said, then they ought to be out working, trying to better their conditions.
Maybe they are.
In that case,
there's a hardworking man there.
Well, they're all hopped up on the Beam Dream Powder, just sleeping willy-nilly.
No, again, no one's hopped up on anything but if you use the Beam Dream Powder, you will get a great night's sleep. I think that's kind of what you were really meant to say.
Well, yes, that's without saying. It goes without saying because we say it all the time.
We should just say it. I think we should say it.
Well, say it, man. You're going to sleep a lot better with Beam Dream Powder, but you got to be honest with yourself. Am I a person that has attained the successful status in life that I should go to sleep? Because some people out there still need to be up and working, getting their ass out of the tenements, getting themselves a good job with a secure future instead of sleeping their lives away. Only order the Beam Dream Powder at ShopBeam, B-E-A-M, shopbeam.com if you feel like you deserve it because you've attained some type of status in the community. You're not just leeching off the government.
That's right. If you feel you deserve it.
Yes, if you deserve it. And here's something. If you've worked hard, ladies and gentlemen, if you have worked hard and you feel like you can afford to go to sleep now, well, you're going to save up to 40% off right now.
That's right. An important thing to note. And I'm glad you brought that up, Jim. A great deal for the listeners, a great night's sleep with a great deal that'll help you sleep even better knowing you saved money.
Yes. Well, you'll sleep better knowing that you've screwed these people out of 40% of their revenue here.
I wouldn't look at it that way. No.
Yes.
No.
Well, I'm telling you, it's absolutely true that if you go to ShopBeam right now, ShopBeam, BEAM.com/JCE and use the code JCE, you're going to save up to 40% off on the incredible Beam Dream Powder. ShopBeam.com/JCE, use the code JCE at checkout, and you're going to save, well, just up to 40% off, as I've just said. And that only if you deserve this now. If you've been working hard, minding your P's and Q's, and you've got somewhat of a successful style of living going on, then you can afford to go to sleep. But if you still need to be out there in the trenches, I think you need to spend a few sleepless nights so you'll further your standards.
Once again, a great night's sleep and a great deal. The Dream Powder from Beam. Jim, what's that promo code one more time?
JCE. That's no next day grogginess, just real deep, almost suspended animation type of sleep.
No, not almost suspended. We were right there at the end. A great night's sleep, that promo code.
JCE, they've improved 17.5 million nights of sleep. Let them improve yours.
Do that indeed. But Jim.
Yes.
Uh-oh, you know what that means.
What is it?
The SummerSlam train rolls on. We go to Night 2, East Rutherford, New Jersey, SummerSlam 2025, Night 2.
Well, the first match on that card, after Triple H came out and asked everyone, "Are you ready?" He does have a growl to him, doesn't he?
Yes, yes. That's also now, I'm getting sick of that phrase, because then they had a promo for what was the promo for? Was it SummerSlam next year in Minneapolis? And then it ends with, "I got one question. Are you ready?" Yeah, I saw you do that earlier, man.
Yeah.
Can't just do that in every single thing you do.
Everybody can't be ready. Some people are always going to be caught unawares.
Yeah, give them the price. You want to find out if people are ready? Give them the prices. Are you ready? Ringside, $5,000.
Are you ready? Or do you need a credit app? All right. So the opening contest on Night 2, a triple threat match for one of the women's titles, the other one that they didn't have a match for the night before, with Rhea Ripley versus Naomi versus Io Sky. And again, I know a lot of people, Io. Her name is Io, and they love her on the mat. But I don't know why, because I don't know where she's at.
She's the genius of the sky, not the mat.
Yeah, well, you know what? Here's the thing. If she's the genius of the sky, I'm not even arguing with that. But do you want to see, and will you buy a ticket to see Olga Corbett beat the shit out of Nadia Comaneci?
How much are tickets? Where is this?
Well, down at the rec center, and they're $15. First come, first serve.
Yeah, maybe I'll see that.
All right. I would have rather seen Naomi versus Rhea, but I figured Io was there so they can beat somebody, right? That's what I was thinking.
What happens when the genius of the sky runs into the genius of the sea?
What happens when the genius of the sky's face runs into the mat and she's on the ground? And I wonder if ain't that smart down there, is she?
All right, we get it. You hate Io Sky. How was the match,
right,
Jim?
Well, again, I agree Io can do the moves, but why would anybody want to see her in a fight? With Naomi and Rhea, they have the look. I'm wanting to see more. I assume we'll get that match because of the finish they did. But the three-way stuff, it's men's three-way, women's three-way. You can't critique it. You can't explain it. You can't tell whether anybody's work is good or not because it's no DQ, as will become a pattern here. They're doing the choreography. One girl grabs the other girl's head. The other girl kicks the one girl. So the one girl goes down and gives the other girl a DDT. And it's just, Rhea can work like a guy. So that's why I like to see her in singles matches without all the furniture. And Naomi as a heel is getting over with me. So they ain't bad together. When it's Io and Rhea, it looks like Joan Jett beating up a sixth grade cheerleader. And she makes more faces and points more than Kenny Olivier. Have you noticed that? Why? What is it? The Japanese influence? They make odd faces and point at everything.
I don't know what influences her. I didn't even notice the odd faces, but I'll pay attention next time. The odd faces.
She may also be the genius of the sky, but what about the phony-looking uppercut punch, which is exaggerated, doesn't make contact, and then held for the people's vision afterwards with her hand straight up in there? Why won't she stop screaming? Maybe a Cardi B versus Io Sky.
She uses the power of sound.
Put the decibel meter on him. Anyway, Io powerbombed Rhea onto Naomi on the floor, and seconds later, Rhea was up and got Io in a riptide off the top rope and covered her, but Naomi came from behind and schoolboyed Rhea and pinned her 1, 2, 3. So, okay, it keeps it going between Rhea and Naomi. Can we please lose the sky now? I'm asking you, will you not book Io Sky in this anymore?
I am not the booker. I said this a while ago. Rhea has to stop losing. We don't see her win anymore.
Yeah.
Once again, we see her on the mat, ready to cry or whatever the hell was happening there at the end. I do want to see some one-on-one matches. This is a Triple H thing at this point. Non-stop three-way matches.
It's just, again, and you can't really tell how anybody's doing because it's just, and then they have the crutch being able, you can do anything in front of the referee because it's no DQ and it's just contrived shit and blah, blah, blah. And it's constant and it's everybody, everywhere. 3-way, 4-way, 6-way, whatever the case. But again, Rhea needs to win something fairly important fairly soon because they just think that she's so over that they can just get everybody else over by giving them the rub, and sooner or later that backfires, and she's more valuable than almost the rest of the women's division put together. Take your other top 2 or 3 and who gives a shit, right, in the overall scheme of things. So they need to do something. But you know something, Brian? At least now we didn't have to watch a 3-way on second. We had to watch a 6-way with 12 guys. Did you watch this thing?
Oh, yeah. I thought it was the highlight at night, too.
Tables, ladders, chairs, and horseshit with all 6 of the mid-card teams that fight for the tag team title with no disqualification. And I saw the highlights. How many tables did they break? Was there any way to estimate? Or do you remember
I don't remember.
It happened over and over?
More than Karrion Kross's bumps, less than a fortnight. I don't know.
So they climbed a bunch of ladders. They fell through a bunch of tables. Everybody almost broke their fucking neck. And what was the best bump of the whole match, Brian?
Ooh, there were a couple of really, really good ones. The Angelo Dawkins one was good. The one you probably would have enjoyed the most was Candice LeRae going from on top of like the biggest ladder in the ring to the floor through a ladder, arm first. That was probably the one that people will be talking about, maybe.
Yeah, did she get up and walk away?
I have to say, this match was more entertaining than I thought it would be. I got really into it. Andrade and Rey Fenix, I think it looked like they could win at one point. Motor City Machine Guns have really annoying music when they come out, so I'm glad they don't win. Gargano and Ciampa and Candice LeRae did their damnedest to cripple each other. I think they're okay. The Bray Wyatt group, or not the, what are they? The Wyatt Six of Dexter Lumis and Joe Gacy. They won. And it was a lot of fun. They introduced the Hardys and the Dudleys before the match. 2 of the 3 tag teams in the match that put TLC matches on the wrestling radar.
So we know who to blame then for this horse shit.
One team couldn't be there. They'll be on Dynamite.
Well, who couldn't be there? What would be more important in their schedule?
Edge and Christian? I'm not sure, but apparently the Dudleys and the Hardys will be wrestling in TNA, having a reunion match or an anniversary match or a last match, something.
Yeah. Well, this thing won about 30 minutes. Who won? You remembered a couple of the bumps? You remember who won?
I said that, the Wyatt Six.
Oh, did they win? I didn't pay attention like the match.
You know what? I like the Street Profits more and more, and the more I like them, the more they lose and never win. But there's something that could still be done with them. The rest of the tag teams are there to have big bumps and do big spots because those tag team matches kill the crowds when we watch SmackDown. They never get big reactions, the DIY and Motor City Machine Guns, no matter how talented anyone in the match is.
Well, I knew I wasn't going to sit down and try to watch this and in any way keep track of it because it would give me such a bad taste in my mouth after they finished taking every bump known to man and breaking every piece of furniture that I wouldn't want to see any of the rest of this show, and there was still the majority of the show left. But at an hour and 15 minutes into the show, we got to match number 3. Jesus H. Christ. They not only won't quit doing shit, but then it takes forever after one match for the next one to come up. And then we have gone from the opening match, which was, wait a minute, what did we just talk about? I just fucking forgot. Oh, the opening match is a 3-way with the girls.
That's right.
Then they have 12 guys on 6 teams do over a half an hour full of stuntman spots with these fucking furniture. And then we come to another girls match for another women's title or something that is no DQ and a garbage match too. And it starts an hour and 15 minutes into the show. We've only seen 2 matches. Then we see this. And I'm thinking, my God, there's a street fight in the main event. Why are they doing this? Who wants to see Becky Lynch and Lyric in a match with chairs and kendo sticks and tables and fucking zip ties? What? They shouldn't even have a performance center. Just send them to Hollywood to fall off the fucking balcony of the fucking saloon with the stuntmen. There are no regular matches. Have I made this point clear?
You have.
So at one point, and I didn't watch this, but I went back on some of it because after I told Stace, she said, "Oh God, did you see Becky Lynch?" I said, "No, you got to go back." So I went back. At one point, Becky Lynch had zip tied Lyric's hands together and they were working spots. She had her hands zip tied together for a couple minutes, and then She gave Becky a suplex and her hands came untied. Obviously, clearly, everybody in the building saw it. The announcers called it. Oh, look, the zip ties broke. And then she stuck her hands back together and worked for another 4 minutes with her hands in the zip ties on purpose. And the announcer had to say, "Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I saw that. I was wrong." And she did 4 more minutes with the zip ties until she goes under the goddamn ring, gets her hands loose, and does a fire extinguisher spot. And then started wailing on Becky with the kendo stick again. And this went way past 20 minutes. And then Bayley comes out and beats the just teetotal shit out of Becky right in front of the referee. Nobody do anything about it. No DQ. Then Lyric put Becky through a fucking table with a goddamn giant leg drop, ass drop, whatever part of her anatomy she dropped. And then seconds later, they were back in the ring. Becky was fine and hit her finish. 1, 2, 3. Did you see the zip tie gimmick?
Oh, yeah. I thought that was going to be the big thing you would talk about, obviously, even before the hands. I thought, wow, she's a magician. Sleight of hand trick. But, yeah, I saw that. And, the fans get into when big things happen. They'll pop for a fire extinguisher. That's been proven for a long time.
Well, yeah, that's one of my favorite spots until the girls started doing it. And goddamn, how can you do street fight spots that people take seriously when girls do them?
But I've been thinking about a lot of the things you've been saying, and they showed like different people showing up at the building, walking in, and they show Lyra Valkyria, and like the place barely popped. Again, you're just watching videos of people enter, but other people got like reaction. And she just looks like an average person. And this whole feud has been done because Becky wanted to work with her. Now they've set up something naturally with Bayley because she can't challenge Becky again for this title. So she has to be mad at somebody. But I don't know, there's a lot in the WWE women's division I've grown to really like. The Raquel and Roxanne thing, the Liv Morgan stuff, Rhea, obviously. I've always been a big Bianca fan. Naomi is a heel. And there's other stuff I just don't like, and all this Becky Lynch comeback stuff with Lyra Valkyria has not been for me.
Again, we've heard that they're friends. They're from somewhere across the pond together, wherever the fuck. I don't care. Point is, people have lots of friends that shouldn't be on the program. And you're right. If this girl does indies, that's fine. But she looks out of place on the main roster with all of these, various characters on the women's roster. And there she is just wearing these fucking hokey ass wings. But I understand using Becky Lynch because she's been a big name and has drawn money there. People know who she is to use her to get someone else over, but not just because she picked somebody because it's her friend. It has to be somebody that actually has a chance to be over. This is just wasting time, wasting Becky. And then, speaking of time, an hour and 50 minutes into this show, that is the Sunday night show, we've had 3 matches. All of them were no DQ. 2 of them were girls' matches, and 1 of them was a 16, 12-man garbage match with the preliminary guys. How is this fucking SummerSlam?
Plus lots of commercials. There's lots of great movies coming to a theater near you at some point in the future, and you can find out all about them on SummerSlam.
Yes.
Brought to you by Drumstick.
In between the travelogues and the chicken commercials.
Drumstick. Just don't call us ice cream. Legally, you're not allowed to call us ice cream.
When you said Drumstick, I was thinking about Wingstop. Because there's all kinds of chicken being eaten up. I got hungry.
They have Papa John's, too, all over this thing. Just nonstop commercials. And again, we all want to make money. We all have commercials in our content, but it's a step beyond with WWE right now. Every table has Slim Jim on it.
Oh, and every time that they pulled out another one of those Slim Jim tables in the main event, I'm like, how fucking hokey is this gotten? It's sad. We'll get there in a minute. Let's let's go to the cage match for the United States title. This would be match number 4, all of them with no disqualification ruling. And now we got a cage, Jacob, Fatu, and Solo. I think this brought it out. What we were talking about, Jacob Fatu is amazing. He's got charisma. The people like him. But the drawbacks of the matches with Solo, it's like Solo is too similar style, but not as good. Because they have similar styles and they're in the family, they're related. They also have kind of the same drawbacks, and Solo's drawbacks kind of, to me, point out Jacob's drawbacks and some of his work. They don't have a good match. Solo is not over to the level that he was in the group originally, when the group was still somewhat the same group instead of now the Tongan embassy has taken over. And they did the escape the cage rules. It under 10 minutes, it was already dragging. It was not a good cage match. Brian, am I being too critical? I love Jacob Fatu.
No, I don't think it was very good. Again, the fans weren't super into it. In terms of the Solo reaction, remember a couple of years ago, all he had to do was put his thumb in the air and people would scream. They don't react to the thumb at all anymore.
Yeah. They give the thumb the finger.
And then the faction, I've always liked Jeff Cobb, but the faction, Tonga Loa, JC Mateo, and Heckel, I'm saying everyone's other name, or Tala Tonga. It just seems like a step below, or it just doesn't seem like you should care. I don't know.
Great value, Timu.
And then Jimmy Uso get involved in this too. I mean, it's like all of these guys are all involved in stuff together. It would probably help everyone to work with other people.
Yeah. And and unfortunately, I don't see that happening by this finish, because Jacob did a couple of moonsaults, and then all the Samoan Stooges or the Tongan Stooges came to the ring, and Jimmy came down to fight the Tongas, but taller Tonga threw Jimmy over the desk, and Solo hit the spike, got a 2 count, climbed up to the top, I guess like he was going to leave, when he spiked Jacob, got a 2 count, but Jacob is still selling. So instead of just walking over to the door, he said, I'll climb over the top. Which is another thing I've always hated about the WWF cage matches. It's just nonsensical. But nevertheless, Jacob went after him, Solo dropped down, and Tonga Loa climbed up and came over the top of the cage. And he's in the ring while Taller got handcuffs and cuffed Jacob to the top of the cage. And then I'm thinking, and the referee seeing this other guy in the ring, there's no DQ. But then also, by the way, female referee in a cage match with 2 300-pound Samoans. How dangerous can it be? That destroys the visual. I'm sorry. Does anybody even see that anymore? How ridiculous that looks.
I think they've trained people not to think about it.
Can you see a female referee to a goddamn cage match in Greensboro in 1979 between Ric Flair and Blackjack Mulligan?
Who's the female?
Anybody.
I can see like Stella Mae French doing it.
Well, Stella Mae.
And so can you. And so can you, because I can tell by your reaction.
Stella Mae wasn't available. She was working at the dry cleaners in Irving. I told you that, right?
You did, yeah.
She was my dry cleaner. Anyway, so Solo crawled to the door, and JC, whatever, opened it, but Jacob Fatu broke the cuffs, which they missed the shot of. Replayed it later. Jacob caught him, and here came old Taller and gave the cage door a big boot, which flew into Jacob's head. He had momentarily earlier in the match done a deal where Solo ran him headfirst into the cage, and he no-sold it because of his hard head. And the frame didn't hit him. like they did in the famous, Michael Hayes slams the door on Kerry Von Erich's head in Reunion Arena Christmas night. The wire hit him and he took a big bump and Solo dropped to the floor. Not good, too gimmicked up for no reason. And they need to get Jacob away from Solo, but now Jacob's got to beat him first. So that was that.
Yes, it was. And we're moving on. For that,
I'm telling you.
For that, the cage hung up above the ring for 2 nights of SummerSlam.
Yes, for 10 minutes of blah. But if that taller Tonga had a big old fucking head with a goddamn giant Cro-Magnon brow, that finish would have got over. But as it was, he looked like a goddamn member of a boy band's head stuck on a goddamn giant's body. It's a little teeny. It needs to be big and bucket-sized.
Would a mask help? I mean, you can't do it now. You can't put,
No, then he'd look like Jerry Stubbs when he was Mr. Olympia. They used to call him P-Head because he was a big, jacked-up bodybuilder with his huge arms and his huge chest. And when he put a mask on, he was bald anyway. It made his head look like his little goddamn pea sitting on top of these boulder shoulders. Old taller Tonga would look like even more like a pea head because it would mash his hair down if he wore a mask.
Should he do anything
unless
different with
it was
his hair?
A padded mask?
What if he changed his hair into like a fro so that it stood up as opposed to Jerry curled down?
No, because it's not the size of the hair, it's the size of the head. Look, Andre added a couple of inches with his afro style, but it was still that giant, enormous brow and fucking jug head. If he had a afro, then he'd just look like a guy with an afro on a peanut. I'm telling you, they need to do something to shoot him up with some kind of hormones. Make his head grow. Block his. Do you block the pituitary or you open the valve up?
I
open the pituitary valve up. His head will be big enough in a year and a half. He can make some money. All right.
I don't know about any of that, but on we go with SummerSlam.
Yes. The Intercontinental title, lady.
Lady.
The Intercontinental title was on the line next with AJ Styles and Dominic Mysterio. This is my favorite thing all night. It's the only regular one-on-one match with regular rules that didn't involve furniture. They went 100 miles an hour for a lot of it, but the work was great. The action, Dominic has heat. I'm not sure if it was worth waiting 2 hours and 15 minutes into this show for. I think it's more like a TV main event. But it's at the same time, it was both the best match of the night to that point and the least important. So Dominic pulled the pad off. The referee turned his back to put it on. Dominic got a chair, tossed it to AJ, and took a bump. The old Eddie deal. So AJ put it around his own neck and fell down. And the referee turned around. He said, I just keep wrestling. And AJ got the calf crusher and pulled Dominic's boot off and swung, and Dominic ducked, and the referee ducked too, and Dominic hit AJ with his boot that he had taken off and splashed him 1, 2, 3. It wasn't offensive. It was a show of athleticism. The personalities were over. The only fucking regular match on the show, and it meant absolutely nothing. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it was good. I'm a big fan of Dominic. I thought him and AJ worked well together. They had a good promo back and forth, or at least AJ had an interesting promo on the post show. So maybe this isn't over, but a good match.
But that's
Dominic's the most improved wrestler of the last decade. From where we saw him to where he is to where he could possibly go in the future. He's still young.
But that's the problem, is they have one legitimate wrestling match on the show, and it's given the least amount of promotion, made the least important, and given the least amount of time. I could have watched them for another 5 minutes or so if I had to, rather than seeing some more of these fucking dipshits falling through tables. But speaking of dipshits, Stephanie McMahon was out next. Introduced as a WWE icon. The attendance for night 2 was 60,561, which brang Brian, the 2-night total to 113,722 people. But how many of them do you think just came one night? Now they're different numbers, so some people had to just be there for night 2. But do you think that would be the minority? Most people had to go both nights, didn't they? If they're going to make the trip and the effort.
If they made the trip or the effort, if they're just local, they may not have to do that. Who knows?
So that means there was about 7,000 local people that just came for night 2.
Maybe, who knows? What do you think of them pounding Stephanie McMahon all over this show every fucking week?
Wait a minute. Interesting choice of words. What do you think about them pounding Stephanie?
Just nonstop Stephanie McMahon all over. She's in the crowd. She's backstage. She's standing there. WWE icon. Her soft interview show. Like just nonstop Stephanie McMahon. What do you think?
Well, they have to.
Why?
Because she and Triple Paul are going to be the new Vince and Linda in a few years. And then she'll be out there in a wheelchair with her kids fucking trying to put her in the home or whatever happened.
Vince and Linda own the company. Triple H and Stephanie don't.
Well, it ain't stopping anybody, apparently. I would have defended more voraciously until just here the last couple months, Triple H as the chief content officer and head of creative or whatever he really is behind the scenes. Although that's starting to wear off on me. But I understand that his position is justified there. I don't really know why anybody gives a shit what Stephanie does or why they're foisting her off on us, except bored.
Because she's bored.
Well, except that
she has no skills.
She's telling Triple H, I want to be on TV again at this point.
Yeah. She's like Connecticut Michelle McCool.
Well, stay off the Merritt Parkway, kid. Anyway, we have come to our main event of the evening. That beloved, heroic figure that has been kept down by evil manipulations in the past is now going to triumph against the odds. Of course, we're talking about John Cena, who for the past 8 months has been telling the people, go piss up a rope, how horrible they are, how pathetic their lives are. But he said he was sorry. Cody came out and got the normal pop. But when Cena came out, they went batshit.
What'd you think of the Dusty audio?
Well, I must have missed that part.
They played
because that's another bad side effect of not having proper fast forward capabilities on this goddamn Peacock, because I couldn't watch it on real television on pay-per-view. What did they do with Dusty?
Well, again, you could have watched it live on Peacock and seen it, but
no, I couldn't have, because then I would have seen every single one of the commercials that I was able to fast forward through.
That's when you get up.
I couldn't see what I was fast forward.
That's when I go outside and smoke a joint. That's when I go to the bathroom. That's when I go grab something from the kitchen.
Goddamn, I could have a goddamn kidney infection. I wouldn't have to piss that much.
You have to look at them as helpful breaks. They are there to help you, the viewer, do other things.
You're 20 years younger than I am. I'm running out of fucking time. I'm being more goddamn judicious with everything these days.
Well, they had audio.
If I can save 15 minutes here and there.
Well, before Cody's music played, they had audio of Dusty, seemingly of Dusty. And I was told that his daughter denied that it's AI. So that means at some point, Dusty recorded some sort of audio that sounded like he was talking to Cody about, like, go get him. I believe in you. I love you. Go get him. So they used that audio, and then they went to Cody coming out there. I think they needed to do everything they could to get everyone to cheer him, and it still didn't work.
Okay, well, see, that's why I missed it then, because I was trying to bridge the 15 minutes between the previous match and the start of this one, and I picked it up with Cody coming to the ring. Because I had no frame of reference, I just landed there. But nevertheless, the point was, he got a nice pop and etc. But when Cena's music played, they went batshit. And then he came out and did the old John Cena entrance, fired up. And we're fired up and ready to go. And he asked the cameraman, you got one more run left in you? Whatever your name is, Chauncey? I don't know what the fuck. And the people cheered when he ran to the ring instead of doing the slow walk he's been doing. And they were standing up. And on the introduction, Cody got cheers, but he also got boos, and Cena got big cheers and Cena chants. Couldn't they have just waited 2 more days and then have Cena come out on Raw and say the same thing, but when he's talking about his newest nemesis, Brock Lesnar, did he had to switch babyface before Cody so that the people would boo Cody trying to finish part 2 of his story?
Well, that's an interesting question. Now, let me ask you that. If the promo from SmackDown the night before hadn't happened, and they go into this match with Cena being defined as a heel, even though there'll be a segment of the audience that'll cheer him no matter what, it's John Cena.
Right.
Versus Cody, same finish. And then after the match, there's a moment, I don't know how it plays out, can't really do a promo, or I guess you could, but it would seem weird.
He would do it the next night when he limped in with his face bandaged on a fucking crutch on Raw. And then he would apologize to everybody.
But I guess my point is, did he have to do it on SmackDown for the Brock return to work? If he had done it after the match?
No. Because again, it's moments that they're booking for anyway. So if fucking Cody had won the belt and vanquished the guy that kicked him in the balls and then left, the people would have still been saying, thank you, Cena, because it's his last time. And maybe then you could see on John Cena's expressive face that he started to have the Grinch moment where his heart grew 3 sizes that day. And just as he's looking up through the sweat and the tears and showing the effect of this match, but he hears the people that they still, after all he's said and done, they still feel for him, and he starts to brighten up. And then fucking Brock Lesnar's music hits, and then Brock comes down and bites his fucking jugular vein. And then he comes out and he says, after all I've done on Raw, after all I've done and all I've fucking said, and you still wanted to thank me. And then this fucking guy comes out, well, fuck him. And there you go. I don't know what the fuck's going on here. Why Cody just had to get shit on by everybody for the past 6 months. But anyway, they had this again. I was loving it till I didn't. Because, okay, this is a street fight. Even with the fucking strange thing of Cena's turned babyface or whatever, it's a street fight between 2 of the top guys in the company, previous generation, present generation. They're smart, they can work, and they've got the ability to use smoke and mirrors maybe to keep up or keep away from maybe some of John's weaknesses as he's 50 years old. So I got that. I don't know why it has to be a street fight after Cena turned babyface, but nevertheless, they start fighting. And despite that they switched John, so there was no reason to want to see him bleed or have a street fight. Again, I wouldn't have had a problem with this if they hadn't gimmicked up everything else on the card with tables and chairs and kendo sticks, even the girls. Braun Solomon tweeted, I wish I had it in front of me, I'd read it verbatim, but basically commenting on the insanity of knowing that your main event at a pay-per-view of this magnitude is a street fight and allowing the undercard that went on is just ridiculous. But the more that it went on, they were having a good match. Even though Cody was getting heat on Cena without cheating, Cena was fighting from underneath. Cody was getting 2 counts. Cody worked his ass off. And so they were doing good. The big yay boo, Cena got the yays. And then they started hitting some big moves and getting some 2 counts. And I'm like, well, this is cooking pretty good. Of course, John pulled out the Slim Jim table and Cody avoided it and set it in the corner. And then they immediately went to the floor and they fought out into the stadium, all over the stadium, forever. And then that's the point where I was loving it until I stopped loving it. Then it turned into a professionally produced AEW match with real stars, where they're just out in the building walk fighting. And that's, normally I would fast forward to them to where they got back in the ring, and it wouldn't really ruin it for me, but I have no on-screen fast forward on the cock, so I had to fucking sit through this. And by the time they got back to the ring, it had taken me out of it. And especially when they came up on the elevator through the stage with Cena with Cody over his fucking shoulders. So now I just wanted it to be over. And by the way, to be honest, since it went 40 minutes bell to bell, it was about time for it to be over. But that's when Cena unhooked. No. Cody, the babyface, hit Cena with a chair and unhooked the bottom rope, and then hit Cena with the buckle. He's hitting him with the turnbuckle. And the people booed him. And Cena struggled up, and Cody hit him again with it. And Cody's, the look on his face, I don't want to do this. Just stay down. I won't have to. Don't do it. You goddamn baby face. This fucking guy's groveling in front of you. Now you're beating up a senior citizen. He went for a third time, and Cena got to fucking STF and wrapped the rope kind of around Cody, and Cody reversed it and hit 3 crossroads and got a 2 count on Cena. And Cena kicked out to huge cheers. And what in the name of God are they doing here? And at first, again, the first part of the match, Cody was really waltzing Cena across Texas, and Cena was fighting from underneath. I thought, okay, they're showing that Cody's the new generation. He's 20 years younger, whatever the case, you know. That's what, but now fucking he's hitting him over and over with his finishes. Cena's kicking out. Cody got the title belt and brought it in the ring and swung that at him, and Cena ducked and gave him 2 AAs, grabbed the belt and tossed it aside to make sure that everybody knew that he was more fucking filled with moral fiber than Cody. And he hit the AA off the top rope and cover, 2 count. And then Cena pulled out another Slim Jim table and set it up and got Cody up on the top, but Cody slipped it and jerked Cena off. And they said it was a Cody cutter, but it was, here, let's jump through this table. And they both went through it. And then he hit 1 crossroads, 1, 2, 3. And 1 to an okay pop. When did you think that we would say Cody will regain the belt to an okay pop?
In AEW. No, they've done a lot to damage Cody this last year.
I mean, when Punk beat Gunther, the place came down. And this is the more important belt. And Cody beat fucking the guy that fucked him for it to win it back. And they were like, oh, okay.
And like I said earlier, Cody becomes an afterthought here. He leaves, gives Cena the attention in the ring because he just turned babyface 2 days before this. So he forgave everything bad that happened. He had to teach John Cena a lesson. And then the story goes on from there.
Yeah, I like the way that they shook hands and drank beer with each other. And then, but Cody said, but on Sunday now, I'm going to have to hit you repeatedly over and over with that turnbuckle. So anyway, it's inexplicable why that they allowed the undercard to be. The writers don't know the difference, but one would expect the actual wrestling veterans to have said, fuck you. But it was just every match was just tables and garbage and blah. And then Cena gave Cody the belt. They had an emotional hug. They blew off the pyro. Cody left. Cena's getting the thank you, Cena. And the music plays, and here comes Brock Lesnar. And Michael Cole went, holy shit. Michael Cole did do they even put a camera on him and showed it on Twitter it was like he had seen the second coming of goddamn woolly mammoth, that he never dreamed that Brock Lesnar would be there. And the crowd went absolutely batshit because it's another star and this time it's not like, oh, golly, Seth's back. We thought he was going to be gone for months. We haven't seen him since last month. They haven't seen this guy in fucking 3 or 4 years. So they went batshit. And he came down and Cena just stared at him. And he got in the ring and just picked John Cena up and gave him an F5. And then Cena laid there and Brock stood there, and off the air we went. And I maintain that would have worked just as well without the babyface turn on Friday, but nevertheless, they've got a lot of names and a lot of stars, and they can just keep sending people out to do shit and break a table. But at some point, they might actually have to start making the matches important again. Just a thought for something for the future.
No one predicted Brock coming back. Obviously, with Rollins, there was a segment of the fan base that thought there was a chance he could cash in, or there would be some kind of cash in with Heyman or Braun, something. No one was saying, and I bet Brock Lesnar will be there. So it was a big surprise. Michael Cole may have been surprised. What do you think of Lesnar returning? Some fans have been upset about it because of his inclusion in the Janelle Grant accusations against Vince McMahon. She didn't sue Brock, but she said that Brock requested a bathroom video, and they were gonna meet up, but it didn't happen. So there isn't really, other than the exchange of that video, there's nothing against Brock really.
Well, we didn't ever hear he got the video, did we? For sure.
I think he did
get the video, or he just asked for the video.
I think from what I remember, Vince was bragging, according to what was in the complaint, Vince was bragging to everyone, including Brock, about his girlfriend. As part of the negotiations, according to Vince and text messages, Brock was going to have his way with her. And Brock was telling Vince how he was going to just tear things up and whatever he was going to do. There was an exchange of a video, and then they were supposed to meet up one night in Connecticut, I think, and Brock got too drunk. So it never happened.
No. Hold on now. I heard that he didn't make the trip. There was some type of weather fucking postponement or something. Is a story that I remember.
I thought it was that he got too drunk.
I didn't remember here. I don't know if Brock gets drunk. Unless he's drunk on that unpasteurized cow milk.
I'm sure he can get drunk.
But no, I'm not. I'm sure he can. I don't know whether he, but point being, first of all, let's say this. They just had the chief content officer, Triple H, standing in the White House next to the most reprehensible, repugnant, slimiest human being on the face of the planet. That's a 34-time convicted felon and a adjudicated sexual abuser, and everybody knows what all of his many faults are. So they don't care. Number one, they don't. And number two, not that I'm a fan of Brock Lesnar as a person. I'm a fan of him as a box office attraction and as one of the biggest stars in the business. But as a person, I'm sure I haven't seen him in decades. I'm sure he's just as Trumpy as the fucking rest of them. So I could give a shit. But I will defend him in that, no, He's not been accused of doing anything wrong in terms of illegality besides humoring his fucking weirdo boss and asking for a piss tape. And I'll take asking for a piss tape over 34 convicted felonies anytime. So Brock Lesnar is not nearly even on the radar list of the reprehensible people that they deal with in the TKO, WWE, UFC fucking whole environment there.
Well, it's not about them.
Everybody just needs to get off that.
It's not about them bringing him back. It's about the reaction, pushback. Again, I was surprised how many people on social media, and it is just social media, were seemingly very upset about him being brought back while the Janelle Grant lawsuit was still ongoing.
Well, yeah, and it's going to be ongoing for years of what the fuck that's the thing. In my estimation, Brock was humoring his weirdo fucking boss because we haven't heard any texts from Brock. We haven't said, you don't hear from Brock. As I said, Brock would rather be on his fucking farm in Saskatoon or wherever with Sable and his cows and pigs and horses or whatever. You don't hear about Brock jetting off to Monaco and going to Epstein's Island and spending nights partying in Las Vegas and being out with Conor McGregor. He's a goddamn throwback to the caveman. He lives in the woods. So I'm sure, yes, with Vince, you heard Vince's texts. We heard all of those descriptions. I'm sure Vince is there. Oh, yeah, Brock, she'll do anything. Well, ever send me a piss tape. He's humoring the old fart. Laurinaitis, I can buy as being enough of a toady and a sycophant and a stooge that he'll jump in with both feet in Vince's various proclivities. But I'm trying to imagine Brock being on the scene when Vince's 80-year-old tallywhacker would come out. I ain't getting that fucking picture.
No, it wasn't that. It was that Vince was trafficking her.
Well, no,
tried to Brock. That's the accusation.
Yes, but the point is, the road was closed for the traffic. Brock didn't actually take that road. He didn't go down that Hershey Highway. Vince, rightfully enough, is accused of trying to traffic her. But Brock Lesnar didn't hop on board the tramp train there. So he didn't do anything. And they've said he didn't do anything. So my point is, I think they're all assholes, but you can't just say we're not going to use Brock Lesnar forever because the creepy guy that used to own this company said, hey, Brock, you want to fuck her? Sure, Vince. Yeah. And $5 million a match, and I'll fuck her. But I want the $5 million a match more. If it wasn't like that was going to make a significant difference in Brock's, whether he was going to re-up his contract or not, it was Vince's fucking kinks that whether that made more, it was more important to Vince than it was to Brock, for fuck's sake. I don't. Now, if Sable had suddenly reported that Brock was making multiple trips to the New York metropolitan area for no apparent good reason, then we'd have reason to believe something was going on. But no,
hey, listen,
I'm sorry.
If Sable came out and said he was making regular trips to the barn, we may have reason to be concerned.
Well, and you know what? If the headlines came out that Brock Lesnar was accused of fornicating with his farm cows, I would put more stock in that than I would that he was actively engaging in all these other things with Vince McMahon and his illegal paralegal or whatever. It's just ridiculous. We don't know. Vince was trying to push that on everybody.
We don't know what we don't know. But what I want to ask you is, if you're going to bring Brock back, if you're going to bring Brock back, do you think this is the appropriate way to do it for Cena, who's leaving in a few months? Or should Brock have been used for someone who's active on the roster who could use a Brock Lesnar to help them get past a certain point or something? Any issue with the way he's brought back, who he's going to be working with?
Well, no, but is this Cena's last match or just last big match? Or because he's done in December Survivor Series, then he does something on TV? I don't know. John Cena has already put Cody over, such as it was. But I don't think John needs to put anybody else over on the way out, especially if he's now a babyface. But by the same token, they may have tied something in where maybe they just got Brock to come back once to give Cena the proper farewell. He beats Brock Lesnar and there he rides off in the sunset. Or does John want to contribute to a different layer of something where Brock beats him in his last big match, but he gets another match to win, but then Cody has to come and beat Brock? I don't know how long they got Brock for, how many matches or whatever.
See, again, he's the guy who ended the streak, and a lot of people at the time had a problem with him being the specific guy to do it, who was basically a part-timer. He was in semi-regularly. It's the same thing here, him and Cena. He's doing something as two part-time guys, unless Brock's full-time, which I doubt.
Well, almost everybody's part-time now. Because they only do this part-time.
That's true.
But I mean, it's for big matches. Is it going to be Saudi Arabia or WrestleMania or Royal Rumble or Survivor Series? Have they got a 1-match deal, 2-match deal, 3-match deal, whatever? I don't have any problem with him coming out and laying out John Cena, and he needs to be a heel because they got more baby faces now than they used to. But we got to see where this goes to determine who gets the benefit out of it. In the end, somebody else besides John Cena or Brock Lesnar needs to benefit. Somebody that's going to be there ongoing. But how do they get there? That's what I don't know. But for all the people upset, no. If they brought John Laurinaitis back, who has been named, yes, he participated in this. He went along with it. He tried to cover it up. Blah, blah, blah. Well, then there's a problem. But they deal with a lot more unsavory people on a regular basis than Brock Lesnar, who asked for a P-tape to fucking placate his goddamn horny boss.
Possibly. We think. Maybe. Who knows?
Sounds like it to me.
Back to the match. One last thing. You compared it to AEW, and that was a thought I had. It wasn't even from the fight walking around. It was from the big move after big move after big move and everyone kicking out. I know that's the thing nowadays. You want that reaction from the fans where you think this really has to be the end, but it isn't. So you get the pop and you continue. I thought it was too much here. I thought it was way too much.
Well, when you convince people it has to be the end over and over and it isn't, then pretty soon, for a lot of people, they just quit believing anything's the end. And then there has to be a balancing act. You can't not ever do anything shocking, and you can't do things shocking so often that nothing shocks anybody. There has to be something in the middle, and I've seen enough furniture to last me a lifetime. I've seen enough multiple person matches and no disqualification bullshit to last a lifetime. When all the no disqualification furniture breaking street fight and shit is not anywhere near the level of animosity between the participants that was found 30 or 40 years ago. Show me that much animosity and I'll buy the goddamn furniture and the blood drinking. But when it's just these phony ass, especially in AEW, but sometimes in WWE, when it's just these phony ass scripted promos or the delusions of the guys who think that people are buying their personalities they've concocted for themselves rather than ones they actually look like, and nobody believes anybody's really mad because nobody believes the other guy burned the other guy's house down or ran over the other guy's fucking car with his tractor, whatever. It's just a bunch of stunts. There's no legitimate feeling of these guys hate each other. Until you get that, I don't want to see any more furniture.
Well, there it is. Cody Rhodes defeating John Cena. Brock Lesnar returns. The end of night 2, and that was the end of SummerSlam.
Thank God.
Well, this is my show, and with that...
I was about to say, it is yours. I am handing you the dog's head.
Ladies and gentlemen, It may be a shorter dog this week than usual. Back with more action later this week on The Experience and next week on the Drive-Thru. We wanted to get this out first. SummerSlam, 2 nights of fun. And with that, the Drive-Thru is closed. All right, nothing sound.
I don't know how I'm going to take any more fun.
We'll be back next week on this show, back next week on The Experience, or in a few days on The Experience. Go through the archive, patreon.com/Cornette, $5 a month, gets you access to the archive. Going back to 2013, the official Jim Cornette YouTube channel, that's my pen. The official Jim Cornette YouTube channel, just go to YouTube and search for Jim Cornette. Full episodes, clips of the episodes, omnibus collections, and so much more. The official Jim Cornette YouTube channel. Of course, Jim, the Drive-Thru is brought to you by the laws of Stephen P. New, 877-50-STEVE. Get even with Stephen at newlawoffice.com. Cornette's Collectibles, what's going on, Jim?
Absolutely nothing.
At jimcornette.com. And with that, we are out of here, back in a few days on The Experience, and next week back here on the Drive-Thru. For Jim Cornette, I'm the great Brian Last. Tally-ho!
Ouch.